Okay, I'm going to start it. Okay, got it. Okay, and thank you very much. I think that's it. All right, thank you very much. All right. But first of all, I want to thank Randy Corcoran for giving me that feedback. It was two things that I did when I was putting together some of the things in my political website. Was I was thinking about this guy named Gino, and I had a best friend and a musician named Gino. So instead of putting in Greg Lopez, I put in Gino Lopez. And so he caught that, and he said, "Well, so he helped me correct that." And then he says, "Johnny, you should put a donate button on there." And from there, I understood that even though he's one of the top, Colorado GOP persons that he was elected, he doesn't know. He doesn't know, like a lot of people know, what hoops you have to jump through to run for local politics.
Wow. This Greg Lopez is running for Colorado State Governor.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And so us little guys were, okay, now I'm not being opposed, so nobody's really asking me to go debate anybody until it gets down to the point of me debating Alex Lopez. So right now, the Republicans are battling out between each other. So on the 28th of June, we're going to pick one of those people to run for either for governor, one of those people to run for U.S. senator,
Right.
and then one of us to run for. I'm doing House 5. There's a House 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's people running for those, right?
Wow.
So he asked me on this one.
God say things, what they teach you, even if they don't feel that in their heart, they feel that that's the right thing to do.
Well, what about these folks running? They're Republican, all of them, you said?
Well, the ones that I'm running with, but it's everybody is running, but it's just stuff that they sort of tell you, but if you're just doing this for the first time, it's almost like a step-by-step. And it seems like with the things that I'm going through, other guys went through, but they just didn't tell me that I would go through.
Man.
I find out, and I'm thinking, how come guys say tell me? Here, I'm all nervous about, okay, one of the things was you were supposed to tell them what your expenditures were. If you spent any money, and if you didn't, at this certain time, they want to know this by, March 7th. And if you didn't do it by April 11th, they would charge you $50 per day you didn't do it. But they won't tell you until it racks up a lot of money.
Ladies,
what? They're supposed to tell you in writing. They just send you a weird bill and charge you a bill? What?
Well, they sent me an email.
Oh, no, that's even worse. They need to send you something better than that. That's crazy. To legally let you know what you're getting into, period.
Okay.
They should do that for anything.
Okay. Before we crack this off, okay, everybody hit the like button, hit the chair.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you some inside stuff that the average person doesn't know, and I'm one of the average people, and I didn't know.
Man.
So you're joining us on Intervision FM, and we're just going to kind of go through some of the ins and outs of some of the less known political procedures when you go for a position of power, an office in district, or whether it be some other elected office. There are some things that have to be discussed when you do this kind of thing, because as Johnny was saying, those that have done this before, they're not going to share the inside trade secrets, as it were, because there's a reason for this. They want experienced individuals who have run in the political arena to continue to provide whatever service they're providing. So if you've gone in there and you've already gotten elected, chances are you're going to be in that good old boys club, good old girls club, good old non-gender specific individuals club. Doesn't matter.
Oh my!
You're going to be.
Oh my God!
Oh. So they're not going to let you know right away what you're going to need to do as a first-time candidate for any office.
Oh wow!
So you do have to go through some of this, and Johnny's going to explain some of his experiences, some of the procedures he's had to follow, and so. If you enjoy this kind of content, hit that like button, share it, and subscribe. It's of utmost importance to get involved at the local, state, and federal levels in whatever capacity you can. Doesn't matter what position you take politically, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. If you like the policies that are currently being pushed, why get involved at the local, state, and federal levels. And if you're not so much enamored with the way that our country is being run and the way things are going, jump in there as well. Get involved.
Yeah. And put your comments in the comment line too, and we'll read those and we'll answer those too. Now, okay, so I got this $650 bill, right?
Right.
And I'm saying, wait a minute. I said, you guys won't. You have this cap that you won't let us raise. No, if we started raising like more than $400 in the election, that we have to, do all this other paperwork and get a bank account separate. Which I understand. If you're a business, this is a business. You get a separate bank account.
But you have to report that to them. Like you have to report everything you do to people. I mean, that's odd, but I don't know.
Well, and they have this, thing where you have to go to the website, which is not very user friendly for the blind. So if there's other blind people out there, it's not, well, at least in Colorado, it's not that user friendly. But the guy was patient enough. He helped me, and I called Ira up to help me further. And then you just have to, every 15 days, you have to say, did you spend any money this month? Did you spend any money this week?
Wow.
That's 15, I think it's like So I blanked out all of May because I said, I'm on vacation. I'm not going to be spending anything in May.
Right.
And then when I get back, I'll start spending stuff. Okay, so they sent me this bill, and they said, either pay this bill or get out of the race. It's pretty much what they say. But then,
so Johnny, really quick, Johnny, for those that don't know, what's IRA?
Right. IRA. Oh, I'm sorry. IRA is a service that they help blind people work through unaccessible websites.
They might help me.
Yeah. So they take over your computer. They have this thing called TeamViewer, and they have some free stuff they can do if you have problems with your JAWS. You can hook up with them, or if you're looking for jobs, they can do that for you, and they have a sponsor for that. And then
drop their website or link in the chat, because I'm gonna hook up with them today.
Okay. Let's see if I can find that really quick, and I'll drop that in the chat. But
I think if you do Alt I, I think it's Alt I or Alt H, it'll bring up the chat box. But go ahead, Al.
Okay.
If you go to AIRA.io, you should be able to find all the information out there that's available. IRA not only is able to remotely take care of things on the computer for you, but they can also jack your camera in your smartphone, kind of give you some pointers, navigation, kind of helps with shopping. Man, it's a really
And how do you spell that? What's the spelling? I'm going to write that down.
That's going to be AIRA.io.
AIRA.org.
No, .io.
.io. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'll drop that in the chat box once I get to the chat box here. I'm on my iPhone, so
no problem.
Be careful. Now, So they give me this bill, and then I'm freaking out because I'm thinking like $600. I said I guess I could put it on my credit card because I'm in this to win it. I'm not going to be jumping on. So, but then as I was freaking out here, and I was sending back this thing saying, "What are you guys doing? You're discriminating and all." Then it was another part down there that says, "But if you want to not reject, if you want to appeal, you can do this." And then the catch-22 is, we won't let you know in the next 10 days, but we'll let you know. Okay, like I said, the caucus that to vote me in is on the 28th of June. We'll let you know on the 27th, which is the Monday, the day before.
That's crazy. That's got to change. Some of those policies, what I call waiting policies, that has to change. They should make you wait days and days and days. Watch this. If they want their money, they're getting it within hours or immediately. But they want us, the public. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. None of that matters to me. What matters is the processes take so long with the federal government that some people just throw their hands up seriously and they forget that. So that's why it's difficult a lot of times for people to get involved in politics simply because they're having to wait. That's crazy.
And it's almost like being in high school again.
Oh God.
It's on. So I said okay, and then a guy who's been taking me back and forth to a different meeting, he said, "Oh yeah, that happened to me," and he says it so casually. I said, "It did," and then other people say that they love charging fines. And my problem with this is, where's money going? Do they pocket it?
Who does it go to? You have the right to legally know that. Hey, if they want you to, seriously, that goes for anybody. They want you to report the money. Hey, we just ask you where this money goes. I would want to know. Shoot, anybody. Hey, where this money going? What are you using it for? Since you want us to document everything, why don't you? And if they can't give you an answer, I would go to a court and say, man, I'm not fixing to continue to pay for this. That's just me. That's me.
Well, this guy, he told me that they usually cancel it out, but it's just, I guess, to ruffle your feathers.
A bill? Wow.
Wow. I guess it's, to ruffle your feathers. And the lady, Janet Griswold, she's a Democrat in the Secretary of State. She is trying to take it over where all the control goes to her, and nobody else can make any decisions but her. But it's supposed to be I thought
it was a panel. Don't they have a panel of people? You need a panel of people.
Well, she's the panel.
Well,
so she's kind of passed bills in the House because of the dominant group in the House, or Democrats, pass it where the buck stops with her and nothing goes out and nothing comes in unless she gives the cross off. And there's no debate. It's just her. And so,
but wouldn't that be that way for either party? But I would say that even whatever party you represent, I don't care if you represent the Tea Party or no party, you have to be able to have overseers and controls, because that's like the Special Olympics. They have nobody to oversee that program, and it's just out of control. There's nobody regulate it.
It's out of control. She wants to be like Special Olympics.
Well,
because it's definitely she's definitely out of control. And that's why we're trying to get her out of there, because we figure like people before her were more accommodating and letting there being oversight than this lady. I mean,
well, hopefully she can let up on that and let there be, oversight. For me, either party, I think, can look at the rules. Both parties, I think, should sit down and go through these rules and say, hey, can some of this be changed so that it's fair for everybody?
Here's something that's interesting about this is whenever a government has total and complete power, as the Democrats now hold within the House and the Senate, with any state, especially democratically controlled states, they can go ahead and make whatever rules they want to make. And that goes for the Republicans when they're in control as well.
Right, exactly. That ain't just a one-sided thing. That's correct, sir. Thanks for saying that.
So the point being, whenever a party is in power, they do not want the other party. And this is de facto. This is not, they'll probably tell you, oh, we want a free and fair election. But de facto, they want their party to stay in power. So, of course, they are going to want to make rules which favor keeping their party in power.
But those rules could also be overturned when if a Republican side comes. So for me, I've always looked at it like that. Even though rules are implemented by a party, they can always be overturned. Rules implemented by the president that's in power sometimes can be overturned. So a lot of this stuff, it can be actually pretty flexible. It's just when it comes down to the way each party treats each other. I was watching a show and they had Democrats on one side and a bunch of other parties. And the people were, it started out nice and fine. And then people just started yelling and screaming at one another. And I was just like, wait a minute. And that's the part that turns young people off like me, because nobody can get a word in edgewise. And the lady who was a Democrat sitting there, her face just drooped down because this man, he was a Republican. You could tell he was on fire. He was very serious about something related to guns, right? We're in Texas, so they take that seriously here. And the lady brought up, hey, look at the violence in Chicago and these other places, and gun violence is rampant. So what do you do about that? And so I don't know if you're a Democrat, Republican, how do you solve these gun problems? Well, because I live in a Republican state, and that probably, I don't know if that'll change in my lifetime, but you hear it every day on the news out here because I live in this type of state. But people are happy to have guns. When you go to other states like New York, you can't even carry a gun. So I don't know how you solve these violence, these issues and these problems where people are going in these places and opening fire in churches and things like that. How do you do that? How do you solve these problems, whether you're Democrat?
It's a good guy with a gun stopping a bad guy. Because if a bad guy comes in and he sees, hey, I'm the only one armed, he can go carte blanche. But if he doesn't know who's carrying and who's not, then he might think twice.
That's true. I mean, in Texas, and that's why when people come down here from other states, look out. I told the dude, hey, people want to sit up here and try to break into people's houses out here in Texas. And guess what? They killed those people, because in Texas, you have the right to fire upon somebody. You cannot shoot them if they're running away from you. But if they're coming at you with a weapon, you don't have to flee your ground. You can stand your ground in Texas. That's why, in other words, I like living here, because you're allowed to defend yourself with a weapon and match that firepower with equal power.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's right.
An interesting thing of note is the blind community are pretty much prohibited from owning weapons. Now, on the face of
I didn't think about that. Oh, man. Okay. I'm sorry. Y'all, look, please forgive me. Oh, my God.
On the face of that sounds like a good idea. Why should the blind have guns? You can't see what you're aiming at. You can't see your target. So why should a blind person?
No, but you remember, there used to be a TV show with the blind guy who was a private detective. I don't know if you remember that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This gentleman was at the forefront of the big debate back in the 90s when straw man purchase laws were put out there and things like this. This guy was a bounty hunter, and he had started losing his sight in his later years. But he was still able to have his concealed carry permit, things like this. But we can thank some folks out there in the blind community, namely Stevie Wonder, who did get in and pretty much make it prohibitive for a blind person to own a gun under these straw man purchase laws. A little bit of explanation about straw man purchase laws. The idea being that well, if you're blind, you can't own a gun. So why are you in here purchasing a gun? Well, you're purchasing it for somebody else. That's definitely not the case. So we as blind people are pretty much prohibited from owning a firearm.
Yeah, see, I wasn't thinking about that, sir, because my vision is not terribly horrible, and I got a driver's license. I drive. I've never run into anything, so I haven't had any problems. I've shot a gun before, but I know that it takes a steady hand and concentration when you're looking down the barrel of a gun. But but I would say that there has to be a way for a blind person to protect themselves, whether it be having a helper or somebody that can carry a gun. Because I was walking in Fort Worth and there was a man who was visually impaired, and people kept hassling him and messing with him, and he couldn't defend himself, because he couldn't see, and some people who could see went over there and defended this man. And so at the end of the day, there's got to be a legal way for blind people to protect themselves from people who might want to do harm to them. And I'm serious about that.
Yeah.
There has to be a way, something.
Either
So
like a stun gun.
A stun gun? Yeah.
Yes, things like that. There has to be something that a man can hold. Like I told somebody that there has to be something that a blind man can hold, whether it's something that's shaped like a button and you press it on somebody and it shocks them, something with bumps on it so that they know by Braille what they're grabbing, right? Because they can feel, okay, this in Braille says this, and they know what they're grabbing. And a lot of the taser companies should manufacture and just put Braille on their weapons, because you don't have to aim. You just have to feel with a taser. For real. Yeah. Let's be 100. I got one, so it works. They work.
Now I get some more things with this thing.
Oh,
okay,
man.
So on the 27th, I'll know if I have to pay the $600. But usually they say they wipe it clean. So it just keeps you guessing till then.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Randy Corpin. And if you look him up, they're going to say a lot of bad things about him because the news media is pretty much bought by the left and everything like that. And you have to go to DuckDuckGo to find anything positive about this guy. And there's a lot of positive things about him.
He was on Fox. He was on Fox News and some other, I believe, stations. They weren't talking negatively about him there.
But if you Google his name, they will start. I mean, Google is pretty much on the left, and so you have to go to DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, to find anything balanced. They're going to have the good with the bad, just not the bad coming up. Well, what they think is the bad coming up first. So I appreciate him answering that question, because I'm thinking like,
right,
people are not mind readers, so they might say, well, why isn't there a donate button on his website? Because he was saying like people wanted to donate and whatever. And what I ask people to do is, you can support my nonprofit. You can hire me as a DJ to work your birthday parties or Christmas parties, stuff like that. And supporting like my business. It's good, but I will not force you to do that. Like Alice Valdez, he wrote a bill that says all new houses are required to have solar paneling connections on it. And Alice Valdez, my opponent, has a solar company. So
of course, make a little profit on that law.
Yeah, so he'll get the list of the people or the companies building houses, and he will call you first because he'll have access to those phone numbers.
Sure.
And because he put that law into place, he'll get the business first because he'll have access to those numbers first.
Why do they get the hold up? I'm sorry, I don't mean to say it like that. Why do they get access? That's like a secret thing, but the public can't get a fair shot to buy anything first.
Yeah. And
that is why
I
was just going to say that is why it's so very important to be involved at the local, state, and federal levels of our political structure. For too long, we have waited and watched and elected folks to go ahead and mind over us And now we are sitting in this
But
place.
is that on either side? Is that on either side,
yes.
Democrat or Republican? Because I know I saw something about Democrats and Republicans, how all this money is spent on both sides, but where does it go? They don't know. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a both sides. I don't know if it's a both sides issue. So money does flow on both parties, but there needs to be more oversight, I believe, for every party, for everybody.
Yeah. So I definitely have one, I agree with the oversight, but I'm not going to be passing things to make people force them to donate to my nonprofit.
No, you don't know.
If it's a good idea, you don't have to force people to do that. And apparently Valdez, he has a solar company now, and it's a good idea for him now. So he wants to force everybody in Colorado building a new house to use his company because he'll have access to those phone numbers so he can call.
But they don't have to. I mean, by law.
No, they do. It's the law. They just passed it because the Democrats are majority. It's now going to be a law. But
that's monopolizing. But then the market share, because when you look up monopolization or look up laws concerning that, you cannot. This is why we're having problems with baby formula. That's not a Democrat or Republican issue, but because that market is so saturated with only a couple of companies, man, that's a problem. You have to allow for free choice, and that's when Texas allowed for free choice when it came to electric. You had everybody and their mama coming out here. Why? Because the market is no longer monopolized and failing on you. And that's what's going to happen if that person or whoever you're talking about monopolizes the corner of that market. So whether you're Republican or Democrat, please do not monopolize stuff, folks. 1-800, do not monopolize stuff.
I'm gonna look when I get in. I'm gonna look at that bill very closely, and there's gonna be some changes made because he knows that he owns a solar company, and he sponsored that with a few other Democrats. And since they are 41% majority, and the Republicans are only 24%. There was no pushback on that.
That's not legal. But that's not. I mean, I don't
care
who
did
you
it.
are, Republican.
It's already done. It's done.
I mean, I would be quick, but the public, if us, the public knew, and this is the problem. I was talking to somebody in the voting station when I went to go vote. And I said, man, half the stuff we try to go look up is heavily redacted, blacked out. You know what I mean? So us, the public, we're left in the dark. We don't know about any of this stuff because half the stuff we read, we can't read half of it. Half the paper black on one side. I'm like, how am I supposed to read that? How am I supposed to find out anything when it is redacted, whether you're a Republican or Democrat? On both sides, I've looked up stuff and the papers are just heavily redacted, and I don't know why that is.
And welcome to the Great Awakening. Welcome to the Great Awakening.
Another thing.
I'm trying.
Another thing people should look out is whenever they want you to sign this piece of paper saying to put a ballot on the voting thing. If they say that vote for this and no one will have to pay for it, it's going to be free. They're lying. Because
somebody always gonna have to pay for something through taxes. I told this one lady, she's Democrat, and for me, someone said, "Well, what are you?" I am myself. For me, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. We're still sitting here with the same issues. I told her. So how do we change something I call same issues that affect both and everybody? And what I've seen by the stuff I could study or look up, if it's not blacked out or have lines through it, what I observe is that we're not solving the problems that need to be solved. And I don't know why that is. Such as poverty and food shortages and other issues that affect people right now today. You got to eat. You have to feed your kids. And so a lady told me the government should be in the business of making things. I don't think you want the government making your shoes, sweetheart. I don't think you want the government making your baby formula. This is what she was telling me. And I just don't know if the government I'm not going to say they don't have the capacity, but the government's not a business. Now, the government would be getting into business if they did that. So I don't even know. I don't know.
And they have too much money. And they, right now, the government is the biggest hirer of people, these government workers. And sometimes let's let the private sector take over some of these things.
Right. And they are, and they want to. That's the job of the private sector. And I believe if the government, and people never listen to me, I said, let the private sector take over these critical, infrastructure, allow them to make computer chips and things in this country where it can be secure, where it can be safe from war and things like that. Bring that stuff back here and allow it to be protected by the government, but the government shouldn't be in business to create computer chips. Come on, man.
Now one other thing is, okay, like everybody, the Democrats and liberals are pushing towards electric cars, but they don't tell you that the tires on these electric cars, they put out a emission that gets airborne, and it could be very harmful to your lungs, more harmful than the combustion that comes out of a car. They don't tell you that. But they can
use regular tires that are made today.
No.
Use those.
No, the cars, electric cars are heavier because those batteries are a lot heavier than.
Oh, right. Engine. So they have to use a special composite.
They have to use a special tire. So when that tire rolls on the ground, it puts out this emission that is even more harmful in the lungs. They don't tell you this. They also don't tell you
because you read this.
Oh yeah,
I guess this is odd stuff.
I've been researching this stuff.
Actually, this article came out in a number of different places. There was something in the Western Journal a couple of weeks ago about this. Even in some mainstream places, USA Today, you might be able to find some of this stuff. But yes, it's a. And this happens in a rather short-term time, even with a small amount of electric vehicles. Now, if we were to go to all electrically powered vehicles with these tires, they're talking about spelling doom for our environment, making
have a lot
it impossible
of people on oxygen. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, you make that company make changes to see. This is the thing the government can do. And should do, they can step in and create regulations so that whatever material that's putting out that emission. See, the government stepped in when a flooring company was found to have cancer and things that can cause cancer in their wood and the making of wood, right? That's why they say wood alcohol, you can't touch it, it's bad, right? So at the end of the day, the government can step in, and EPA and others step in and make this stuff regulated so that material doesn't put out whatever you're talking about. There's ways to solve that issue immediately.
Right. Now, also in Colorado, because our Governor Polis is trying to be like California, when the weather gets colder, the batteries lose 30% of the energy. Now, if we like to go up into the mountains, that means we'll go so far in the mountains and then we'll lose power, and then there's no place to plug in. But Polis doesn't look at that. He just wants what he wants because he wants to be like California. But California doesn't get as cold as Colorado.
Not at all.
Therefore, the batteries last longer and they don't lose that energy. But nobody's talking about that. Another thing they're not talking about is once these batteries are old and you have to put them somewhere, they don't degrade. They don't. You put them in one of these.
You have to take them to a battery. They have a lot of places out here. I don't know about other states, but they have disposal battery places where they will pay you to take the batteries to, and you drop them off, and they have a process that's safe and they take care of them. But please do not throw batteries of any kind in the trash can or dumpsters, because not only that, when it gets hot out here, some of that stuff that's in the trash can catch on fire. So that's another reason in Texas, you can't just lay batteries and throw them in the trash and things like that. So there's a proper way to insulate those batteries. And the solution for the loss of power was kind of like our hot water heater has that insulated blanket. That's what they're going to start doing with these batteries, so that you can purchase an insulated carrier for those batteries to be able to hold that power. Yeah. So that's your solution right there for loss of power.
So I on my website, my partner's going to be putting up a website pretty soon. I gave some of these points of what Alice Valdez is doing, my opponent, that people don't know about because, people are working a job. They don't have time to be.
No.
They really don't have time. But I'm looking at this since I'm looking towards this as being, I'm working for the people. I'm going to dig in, and I'm going to simplify some of these bills that are put out there, and probably reverse a lot of these things, because this governor we had now, he killed 40% of the jobs here. Never said he was sorry. And he's so hard. This guy's so heartless. He spent $23 million getting elected. Now, for us who don't and good for him. He has that kind of money,
Okay, right.
But for us who don't have that kind of money,
right? How's that fair?
We're gonna have a little bit harder time getting our name recognition. And like I said, I'm not even like a Mark. They had a big debate this Saturday. No one called me up and invited me because I'm running with me, as there's no other Republicans running against me. I'm the only one in this slot. So
and aren't you the only one of color too? Because isn't it you and somebody else? Who else is in there that's of color?
Let me think.
Anybody? Because
there might be, because when I was at the Colorado Springs convention, there seemed like my wife looked around and she said, "There's only 4."
Right, that's what I'm saying. Why is the color turnout? And that's the same with Democrats and whatnot. A lot of them, you see somewhat of a turnout in Black people, but a lot of Black people I talk to are like, man, we're just tired of the system as a whole. And that whether you're Republican, Democrat, some people have completely stopped voting because of the system. They don't see people who look like us.
I was telling Alan
that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I was telling Alan that the mix, the music mix, I would have changed it, because I love country music, but I would have mixed it up with some disco, with some edited
R&B,
versions of
something, dude,
R&B.
some soul.
I would have mixed it up a little bit more. But I'm a DJ, so the next on the 28th, if I get a chance, I'm gonna DJ.
You should. You should, because my friend went to a Republican thing. They went down there. I'm not, of course, a Republican, and I don't judge people for being so, but she said the music was so boring. And it was very old. And she said she looked up some of the songs, half the people they played weren't even alive. I said, oh my, that's old. That's old, man. Oh my God. So Republicans, if you could find some selection in music to this day and age, whether you Republican or Democrat, make the music where it's popping and jumping. So when people come in there, they like, yeah, I'm a vote. I went into the voting stand. They didn't even allow us to play music in there. I brought a radio, and they were like, oh, you can't play music in here. We were waiting to vote in line, and they were like, you can't play music inside. I'm like, what? The music in here is elevator music, guys. Elevator music. And they were like, wow. So I don't know anything about voting, but the rules
I know the vice president and the president of the Republican Party here in Colorado. I don't know them. I have their email and phone number. So I'm definitely putting in my 2 cents worth, saying,
hey, you should DJ.
Let me spin the music, and you can look at my music. You can look at my music selection, but you're gonna see a nice select. You're not gonna see just country, because I like country. My first job was at a country bar, so I know the country music. But you're gonna see another mix, because I got everybody up dancing.
You have to have that, dude. Like I told somebody, if you want a Black person from the hood to vote, you think you fit to come up? I'm sorry, you think you finna come up in there with some country music? Black people not trying to hear that. We need some hip hop or something. we will go vote and get some chicken out there. I remember one dude say he wanted to serve food, and the people who regulate the voting came out there. He had a big old truck, and they was like, "Oh no, you can't serve food out here."
Oh no,
and we was like, and the food was gonna be no charge, but it was It was no charge. He was just going to serve the people that was standing in line food and water and stuff. And out here in Texas, the Republicans that ran that deal said that he wasn't allowed to serve anybody food. And he was like, I'll serve anybody, whether you're Republican or Democrat. So what we got to learn to do is relax on some of these rules, and more people might be willing to vote. Let us eat in the line. Let us have water. Let us be ourselves. And I think you'll see voting explode in ways that you haven't, and make it a joyous occasion, not where you feel like you're going to a funeral. That's the type of music I heard when I went into that voting thing. I heard crickets, no music. I said, wow. And the ladies who ran it were not my age. Most of the people there were about 65 or older. And I said, what are young people at? And the lady looked at me, she said, how old are you? I said, ma'am, I'm almost 40 years old. She said, my bad, I thought you were a kid. I said, are you kidding? She said, yes. Look at your face. I said, oh, my bad, ma'am.
Well, ladies, you can read the, more. It's Johnnie J for Colorado House District 5. You can read more about what I said, replying to Randy Corcoran's question. And I hope it answers questions from other people who went on my website and say, where's your donate button? It's not that I don't need any donation, but I'd rather you hire me to do what I do for a living, or sponsor the radio shows or stuff like that.
Then you don't have to report that money. That's your legal money. I see where you going, brother. Do it that. No, I'm serious. Do it that way, because, and you can even get sponsorships for those particular things. And then you don't have to report that legally. You don't have to report that money. But as soon as they donate through the Republican Party or through anything dealing with that, you have to report it. But brother, if you a DJ, you don't have to report that to nobody.
The bottom line is the bottom line is the hired hand is worth the price of the wage. So in order to hire Johnnie J for DJ, go ahead and hit us up at info@intervisionfm.com, and in the subject line, just put out that you're looking for a DJ. He'll help you out through Intervision Records. He's the president. He's got a book out there called 6 Shades of Blindness, available on Amazon in paperback. And I guess probably after you get your running for House District 5, you'll be working on the Kindle version, right?
Oh yes. Definitely,
I'd like to check that out, man. I'd like to check your book out, and you can check my book out too, man. Swimming upstream to realize the dream, Walmart and Amazon, because it's always good to read each other's books. And, you know, I would love to somehow, if that can be audio or what have you, it would be great, man. And so I just appreciate always being here myself. You folks go check out my book too, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream. You'll realize your dreams too.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hey, also, speaking of realizing dreams, tomorrow's my birthday, so we will do a show tomorrow.
Birthday!
Yeah. And so me and my wife are going to be taking a little trip across the sea and do some stuff here in where we are now. And so we will do a show, and I'll try to think of the topics tomorrow, but we may just do a freestyle tomorrow, just in case if I don't get a chance to get like
do the topics.
Get it, because we got to be out of here by 5 o'clock to catch this boat.
Oh wow!
All right.
Wow!
And then we'll get back around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's gonna be a fun time. You know, she always says like she always really plan on things, but I'm not good at that stuff. But it's
I'll tell you, next time you guys take a trip, I'm in your suitcase. Next time you guys take a trip, I'm in your suitcase, man. Your wife does some good planning with regard to events and activities.
Right, for real, man. Like, you know what, for real, because it's time to go on vacation. Everybody, and go have fun and live your life. Get your butt up out the house, like my grandma used to say. Get out, live life, and it's time to do that. This pandemic may be a pandemic. We don't know. At the end of the day, live your life as if you don't know. That's what my grandma used to tell me. Hey, man, y'all be blessed. That's right. That is right. Love y'all all.
Definitely.
When is the next show? Tomorrow, same time?
Possibly.
Same time.
Okay. Same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So
Y'all made me
all
laugh
right. So
today, man.
okay.
Love y'all.
God bless everybody.
All right.
Y'all too.
All right. Have an excellent day.
You too.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
That's